meeting is being recorded. The recordings will be made available at youtube.com/d.videos. This meeting is also being live streamed on D.Dot's Facebook page, facebook.com/d.dc. If you need any technical support or assistance during this meeting, you can call 202-997-8354. All right, so as you join the meeting, everyone is on mute. You cannot unmute yourself. We can unmute you during the Q&A portion and comment period of the presentation. This just helps to make the meeting run a little bit smoothly with no disruptions during the presentation. You will be able to use the raise your hand feature, and we're going to cover that shortly. All right, so during the Q&A feature, a portion of the presentation, can ask a question. It's the three-dot icon at the bottom right side of the WebEx window. You'll be able to select Q&A. A new panel window is going to appear and open, and then in that area, you can post your question to all panelists and press enter to send your question to the project team. Also, if you're joining via like your mobile app, you can click the Q&A or the question mark icon to access the Q&A to ask a question and type in your question. Now, if you dialed in via phone, you can dial *3 to raise your hand, and that function will be available to you for the project team to know that we need to take you off mute so that you can speak verbally and ask your question. As I stated earlier, the raise your hand function is available for you to speak. Click the participants icon on the right side of the WebEx window. If you hover your cursor, you'll see the raise your hand icon. If you're on your PC, laptop, Mac, you can hit Control-Shift-R on the keyboard, and that raises your hand if you want to use your short keys. You can again click the three dots icon to select raise your hand if you're on your mobile phone. And also you can dial *3 to raise your hand on your phone as well. Without further ado, we have our project team that's available today. We have our D.Dot team, David, I don't want to butcher his last name. We have David and John. We have our lead design engineer, Alan Yang, myself, Enora Moss with the TBNA Public Outreach team, as well as Peyton Manning. And now I'm going to turn the presentation over to our lead design engineer, Mr. Alan Yang.
Thank you so much, Enora. We'll get started. Talk about project details. So this is an agenda about what we're going to talk about during this meeting. We'll start from project information. We'll talk about existing conditions on Wheeler Road, the concerns and issues we're addressing. Also, we're going to talk about the school pickup and drop-off improvements. So throughout the presentation, you may hear PUDO. That is abbreviation for pickup and drop-off at schools. We're also going to talk about proposed improvements at specific locations, typical section kind of situation, and then we'll run through the whole corridor block by block in a rendered improvement condition type of drawings. At the end, we'll have Q&A session. During the presentation, if you have any thoughts, feel free to share those in the chat section, and at the end, we will try to address your questions or thoughts. The primary project goals. This corridor has been a corridor with speeding problem and with high crash numbers. That's number one goal. We're addressing the safety and speeding problem. Number two is to significantly improve safety for all the users and all the transportation modes, including vehicles, pedestrians, buses, all the users of this infrastructure. Also, we are to improve safety, especially adjacent to the two schools, TDC to the west of the corridor, and Eagle Academy to the east of the corridor. This is the project location. To the right side is a project map. The two limit, the gateway intersections are Wheeler Road with Alabama Avenue to the north and Southern Avenue to the south. It is a 1 mile corridor, is classified as a minor arterial. We have 7 signalized intersections and 7 unsignalized intersections right now. Notable features include the 2 schools, as I mentioned, KDC and Eagle Academy. Also, we have the Oxygen Trail in the middle of the corridor between Mississippi Avenue and Valley Avenue. Other notable cross streets include Barnaby Street is a minor arterial, and Water Place. This is a project schedule. Because of the issues on this corridor, DDOT implemented quick delivery constructions at summer of 2022 and to summer of 2023. But those were near-term safety improvements. At the same time, this project is a CIP project, Capital Improvement Program project for long-term improvement. The design was started in May of 2023. We performed evaluation of the near-term improvements, did a comprehensive traffic study. We developed a concept design, and right now we are at a 30% design phase. In this year, 2024, we are going to develop preliminary, intermediate, and final design. The permanent construction is scheduled to start next year, 2025, and it will take maybe a year and a half. And then the goal is to deliver the project either at the end of 2026 or the beginning of the following year. Stakeholders besides DDOT, we have OMADA, we have many bus stops on the corridor. We also have 2 metro stations, Congress Heights on Alabama Avenue and Southern Avenue Station on Southern Avenue. PDC Eagle Academy, I just mentioned. Utility companies, including Washington Gas, PEPCO, DC Water, communication companies, and such. We also have DPR, Department of Parks and Recreation, who owns the property of the park, Oxygen Run Park and Trail between Mississippi Avenue and Valley Avenue. We also have places of worship, business owners, residents, and commuters. Now we'll talk about existing conditions of this corridor. This is a map just showing more symbols, icons to be more intuitive. As you can see, the 7 intersections with signal symbols, right? Those are the signal intersections, including Alabama, Southern, and a few others. We have 2 small shopping centers, both at west side of the corridor. One is north of Mississippi Avenue. The other is north of Barnaby Street. Also, the 2 schools, KDC and Eagle Academy, they're located at north section of the corridor, both sides of the street. This corridor is overall a residential corridor, mostly townhouses, single-family houses, apartment complexes. There is a high-rise apartment building there close to Valley Avenue. The entire corridor, there is a slope situation because it's a U-shape. Basically, top of the hill are Alabama Avenue and Southern Avenue. At the bottom of the U, that's where the Oxygen Run is located. That's between Mississippi and Valley. And the slope of average 7% incurs a lot of problems, including speeding. So that's what we're trying to address. Let me talk about primary safety concerns, including speeding, I just mentioned, crash frequency. There's a high number of crashes. In the last 3 years, there was reported around 280 crashes, accidents along this corridor. That's a very high number. School safety during the PUDO activities. There's illegal U-turns, unsafe situation for the kids near misses. So there's a lot of problems that we need to address. This is a quick summary of the corridor 3-year crash history. What's summarized here is a comparison of the Wheeler Road corridor compared with city average, the DC average. As you can see, many types of crashes we have higher than city average, such as the fixed object type of accident, left turn type of accident. If you look at parked vehicle, that percentage is lower than the city average, probably because of the lack of parking demand on this corridor. This is the crash data heat map. It shows the entire corridor, and then each dot represents a recorded crash. The large red dots represent 2 fatalities on the corridor in 3 years. One close to the school, Savannah Street, the other close to Barnaby Terrace. As you can see, the 2 gateway intersections, Alabama and Southern, got a higher number of crashes. Also, in the middle of the corridor, Mississippi Avenue, Valley Avenue got a higher number of crashes. And these crashes scatter throughout the corridor. It's absolutely a very unsafe situation for the residents and commuters or stakeholders. This is a summary of the speeding problem. We have collected speed data for 4 focus locations. Number 1 is next to KDC. Number 2, close to Eagle Academy. Number 3 is the park section between the 2 avenues. And number 4 is next north of the shopping center next to Waller Place, right? The large pink boxes indicate 4 numbers. Those are the percent of vehicles that are speeding, traveling above the speeding limit, which is 25 miles per hour. 80% or more of vehicles are doing so at these 4 locations. So I'm going to start to describe the PUDO activities and the issues. This graphic shows the PUDO activities at KDC. The green areas show the designated PUDO locations. So there's PUDO activities on the school campus and parking lot, but also on Wheeler Road. On Wheeler Road, there is a designated PUDO activity implemented by the quick delivery project by DDOT. And those purple dots represent the school entrances. So we actually have 2 separate entrances at Wheeler Road side. Because the PUDO area got a bare flexible post at the outside of the PUDO area. So some parents, if they drop off their kids at this entrance, they do not pull all the way down to the end, so that some parents just the cars stay here and this space is underutilized, and the vehicles behind they cannot get into this area because of some barriers and posts. So some parents, they just stop in the travel lane and let their kids out of the vehicle. For southbound, and what's even worse is the northbound. We observed in the field some cars just stop in lane and kids get out of the vehicle, cross the oncoming traffic, and go to school. Very unsafe situation, and a lot of safety concerns. So, and also there's a bus stop at southbound next to the school driveway, and there's a lot of activities there, students, congregation, and local residents, people. So there's a lot of going on at this bus stop as well. So we analyzed the situation, we collected the data, and we went into our toolbox, provided the maximum extent practical safety improvement countermeasure, as shown in this graphic. So the biggest change is we have relocated the crosswalk. Right? The currently crosswalk is a little bit to the north. We relocated the crosswalk in between the two school entrances. This is the most natural location for pedestrian crossing. We have also separated the two poodle area zones to the north and south of this crosswalk, so that there's the situation of vehicles not pulling to the end, blocking other vehicles from entry. That situation will be much alleviated. Also, the crosswalk is widened to, as wide as we could make it. So it will cover the areas of pedestrian crossing, and will also be protected by the flashing beacons. And we added the raised median, separating the two direction of traffic, so to prevent those illegal U-turns. So this is what we come up with for KDC. Next, let me go to the Eagle Academy. This is the Wheeler Road is a lower section of this graphic, and north is point to the left. Also, what's shown in the green zone is the arranged photo activities, either on campus in the parking lot. There is another photo area behind the school on 10th place, but because that location does not have good pedestrian facilities connecting to the school main building, the area, although it's provided, but it's underutilized. On Wheeler Road, actually, a photo area zone is not provided, but in the field, we observe a lot of parents just park their vehicles on the curbside illegally, actually, and that's hatched off area, and the vehicles will be partially in the travel lane, creating problem for sideswipe concerns. And the southbound, there's a bus stop. We observed constantly vehicles parked in the bus stop and parents leaving their vehicle and escort their kids to the school. So a lot of unsafe situations. So our improvement for this Eagle Academy is summarized by this graphic. The Eagle Academy is shown on the top of the graphic. And the northbound side next to the school, we are providing two photo zone, right? One here, the other is actually south of Apsel Street. We have more spaces. Also, race meetings provided. We relocated this bus stop southbound from the school to the next intersection, Apsel Street. We added a south side crosswalk at Apsel for pedestrian accessibility and safety. And this north crosswalk is protected by the pedestrian refuge island. And also flashing beacons will be provided for the crosswalks for maximum safety protection. And other improvements. This is a mid-block crossing crosswalk between Mississippi Avenue and Valley Avenue. There is a pair of trailheads. So if you can look at the upper section of the background, there's a trail coming in with a good angle connecting to Wheeler Road. The other side is another trail. So before the DDOT quick delivery, there was no crosswalk protection facility. So DDOT implemented this crosswalk mid-block recently. But with this project, we are relocating the crosswalk to the most natural line of crossing location. So a little bit south of the current location, and provided by raised median, pedestrian refuge, and the flashing beacon, as well as the advanced flashing warning sign. Basically, if pedestrians are crossing Wheeler Road here, if they push the button, it will activate the advanced warning signs. It will flash. This is the maximum safety protection. Also, we are proposing multi-use paths to connect the Oakland Rim Trail to the south, to Central Avenue and to Maryland. And this multi-use path is proposed south of Valley Avenue, the southern half of the corridor, the east side of the corridor. And these pictures show some other projects elsewhere in DC implemented with the multi-use path besides the provided sidewalk for maximum safety. This graphic shows the corridor safety countermeasures, right? We are providing the risk meeting at pretty much all the blocks. Of course, not at intersections and to accommodate large vehicle turning is all that analysis was done. We are providing 2 radar cameras, one at Mississippi, the other at Valley Avenue. We're providing 4 speed enforcement cameras to slow the traffic down. We are also providing a new signal at the Savannah Street intersection. We have done a traffic signal warning study. The volume and pedestrian crossing safety data justify for this new signal. The signal will provide much needed protection for safety and corridor coordination and progression. New crosswalks are provided at strategic locations, such as the Upsall Street, as I mentioned. Another new crosswalk will be provided on Alabama Avenue at the west side. So we have performed our analysis. We're sure with these improvements, the crashes will be reduced significantly. This graphic shows the WMATA bus stop improvement. We are consolidating some bus stops, eliminating some bus stops, and relocating bus stops to the ideal and safest location possible. For example, currently there is a pair of bus stops at Waller Place, right, for northbound and southbound, but this pair is very close to the downstream pair and upstream pair. So coordinating with WMATA, we are proposing to eliminate this pair of bus stops. And the southbound 2 bus stops to the northern end of the intersection, the corridor at Alabama Avenue and Keep DC, we are consolidating this 2 bus stop into this single bus stop away from the school as well. There's some other improvements for the bus stops, and the goal is safety improvement. And we are going to provide bus shelters at appropriate locations. This graphic, this slide shows the green infrastructure improvement for stormwater management. So the goal is to capture the runoff from impervious surface and then store the water for this captured runoff, and then infiltrate the water through layers of designed soil, stone, and different materials, and then recharge the ground, the soil, the water table, to make the whole system sustainable and environmental protected. This is a graphic shows the typical application of bioretention. We have the street section and sidewalk. In between, we have this bioretention facility with trees and planting. The rainwater, stormwater will get to this area through curb cuts and then stored here, and then infiltrate the different layers and recharge the soil. And this whole design is compliant with the Department of Energy and environmental requirements and regulations. We are also proposing porous pavement, same idea, right? For the water infiltration and sustainable for infrastructure. And this PERS payment will be applied at various locations, including the multi-use path, some full-time parking locations, and some other pedestrian facilities. Now, let me present the rendering for the entire corridor block by block. So again, north is pointing to the left. This block is between Alabama Avenue and Savannah Street. As you can see, we are providing the raised median pretty much throughout the whole corridor, and the pair of bus stops are located north of the intersection. This Savannah Street intersection will be signalized. We're providing no U-turn signs at location. They're not supposed to do U-turns. Parking is preserved in this area at a southbound location. So, and the bus stops will be in lane, meaning you'll provide maximum safety protection. If a bus is stopped in the bus stop, no vehicles will be able to go around the bus and causing safety concerns and issues. This is the area in front of the QBTC, which I already presented earlier. But just to look at a bus stop location, this northbound bus stop north of Congress Street is to be stationed here next to this crosswalk. It's the ideal location. The mid-block crosswalk widened, strategically located in between two school entrances. Those are provided at the southbound side. Yeah. And let me also talk about Savannah Street intersection. The south side of the intersection, this median is extending out. So out of the Wheeler Hill Drive is an alley. It will be only red in and red out for maximum safety. This is in front of Eagle Academy. As I shown a portion of this earlier, but what's not showing is the Podo area south of this Apsel Street. We have more spaces for Podo available, and the other portion of this space is dedicated to parking. And the Podo spaces and parking spaces can be adjusted. It's the same setup, but per the Podo demand, it could be more Podo spaces or fewer Podo spaces as needed. This is a block between Mississippi Avenue and Valley Avenue. As I mentioned, both intersections will provide a red light camera, so nobody is allowed to run the red light. That's big no. And they'll be ticketed if they do so. And a divider is provided in the middle. So on the bridge, because the bridge is a structure, if we are proposing lightweight barrier material on the bridge. And then the crosswalk protection by flashing beacon at the mouth warning. Flashing beacon will be provided northbound and southbound. And the speed feedback signs will be provided as well. You know, the research has shown these feedback signs are effective, helping to reduce the vehicle speed. This block is in between Valley Avenue and Barney Street. As you can see, a multi-use path is provided east of the corridor, behind curb, to connect the Oxford Trail all the way to the south to Southern Avenue and to Maryland. And the median could be, the material on the median does not need to have to be concrete. We could have planting, turf, or other treatment we're doing that, developing that design. Also, because we're providing all the traffic calming and road diet to address the emergency vehicle passing through, we are providing at strategic locations emergency pull-off areas such as here and here. So these areas are not for parking, and the parking demand is very, very low here. So, but they're provided for emergency vehicle passing through. So, the vehicles in front should pull over and give way to the emergency vehicle. This is the corridor between Barney Street to Barnaby Street. So this crosswalk, the south side crosswalk at Barney Street, is provided. Right now, there's no crosswalk here. We're providing this one for pedestrian accessibility. Also, it will be protected by the pedestrian refuge island. Yeah. So, the sufficient traffic signs will be provided indicating speed limit, photo enforcement, school speed limit indication, and at intersections with traffic signals, we are proposing the no turn on red signs to maximize the safety. Also, we are studying all the locations for more trees. Because we are pushing the curb at the east side out, we have more space for landscape and for more trees. We're providing a lot more trees throughout the entire corridor to make it a green corridor for the section of Wheeler Road. This is the last section of the corridor from Barnaby Street to Southern Avenue. As you can see, the risk meeting is provided at most of the locations. The last block between Bellevue Street and Southern Avenue, the southbound, we are maintaining the 2 travel lanes because the demand is needed for turning onto Southern Avenue, connecting into Maryland. And this southbound curb lane will be used for parking at off-peak hours. At the peak hours, in the morning rush hour and afternoon rush hour, the curb lane will be used for travel. Other times we still use for parking. Yeah, this is pretty much the whole corridor rendering situation. Let's come back to the project context again. David Takor, he is the DDOT infrastructure program project management program manager, and John Gomez, he's the project manager of DDOT. I'm Alan Young, the lead design engineer, and Peyton Manning is our public outreach coordinator. His email is provided. With that, also want to mention we have project website. This is the website. If you click, type in this link, it will lead you to this website with information about this project. wheelerroadsafety.ddot.dc.gov. I will turn it to Peyton.
Great. Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you everybody for attending tonight's meeting. We're going to wrap it up and get into the Q&A period. But first, I wanted to point out the Title VI survey. You'll be automatically directed to take the survey after the meeting if you're using a computer or your phone. Please, please, please take the survey. It really helps us understand how best to hold these meetings for you. And as a recipient of federal assistance, DDOT has to ensure that all of its programs and activities and public meetings are conducted in compliance with the Title VI and Civil Rights Act of 1964. So that feedback is really good, and it really helps us. And Louis, I did see some comments about using a pointer. That's the type of thing that we'll capture because you sent it in the chat, but we would love to capture it through the Title VI survey as well. So please, you will be redirected to that survey. Please just take the 2 minutes that it takes to fill it out. It will help us as we continue to hold these public meetings about Wheeler Road going on. Next slide, please, Alan. And with that, I think we can jump into the Q&A. I do see quite a few comments. Your comments are being recorded. I'm going to try to focus on the questions during this period. But certainly all of your comments we will take back and take into consideration as we move forward with the design. So the first question that I'm seeing, and also, I'm sorry, if you're calling in, you can press *3. That will allow you to raise your hand. And if you are on the WebEx platform, there's a raise your hand button, and then we can unmute you and you can speak if you would prefer that to sending your messages in the chat or Q&A. So the first question, Alan, I have is there any thought to putting a traffic light with turn arrows at Wheeler and Savannah and replacing the traffic light at Wheeler, Mississippi with a new one that has turning arrows as well?
Yes. We look into the traffic demand. So we collected the traffic counts at all the intersections. When I say traffic count, those were done continuous 12 hours on a typical weekday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, under fair weather condition, and when schools are in session, not a holiday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So at each intersection, we have all the turning movement counts, right? So if we say at Savannah, there's a lot of turn movements, we need to provide a turn signal error, then the data will tell us to do so, because I'm a transportation engineer. We do traffic study all the time. There's specification warrants to install those turn signals. At Savannah Street, I believe right now the turn movements are not that significant, do not justify for turn signals. Mississippi Avenue, we definitely did analysis. Let me double check that. I cannot confirm yes or no. We are installing those turns errors. I say potentially yes, but let me go back and double check and give a solid answer.
Great, thank you so much, Alan. And then Daryl also asked, there's a number of medians that are not properly assigned along the route. Is that going to be corrected as part of this project?
The answer is a quick yes.
Great. And then I think I heard you said they're going to be installing more cameras along the corridor. There are probably more Maryland vehicles that travel this route. DC is not having much success in getting these Maryland drivers to pay the tickets. Thus, they have no concern about speeding. So why would you add additional cameras that provide little benefit because of this?
Very good question. It's a very thoughtful question. There are existing cameras on the corridor. There's one southbound, it's Absol. So, but that camera that's a speeding camera, but it's located at an intersection. You know, the speeding cameras are more effective at mid-blocks because at intersection with traffic signal, you know, half of the time the vehicles are stopped. They're not speeding because they cannot do so. Right? Even they want to speed, you know, they pick up from zero. How many speeders are catching? So we're relocating those cameras to a more ideal location at a mid-block. Also, strategic locations next to the schools. And we have the speed data, right, at many locations. We go to locations with highest recorded speed, right? Because those putting the camera, those gonna be most effective. We're not putting a lot more cameras. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to optimize the camera locations. We might be adding 1 or 2 cameras, and that's it. There are existing cameras, just not strategically located. And we are basically positioning these cameras at the optimal locations per the study recommendation.
Great. Thank you, Alan. I understand the plan and agree somewhat, but the traffic is bad now after the most previous design on Wheeler Road and will probably be worse after this is finished. Has there been any thought about how this will impact traffic in the area?
Absolutely. We're traffic engineers. We have simulated traffic, modeled the traffic using industry popular software. It's called Synchro, right? So we again, like I mentioned, we collected all the counts for the entire corridor, every intersection, every location, especially the morning peak hour and the afternoon peak hour. And we modeled the worst periods of time, model the traffic. We study the before condition, before quick delivery, during quick delivery, and the long-term improvements. And we have mitigations of the traffic operations. With this improvement, our study results show that 25 years after the construction is finished, project is delivered, the levels of service will still be operable, will still be highly acceptable for a urban manner arterial. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Alan, for clarifying. I do see that a couple people have raised their hands. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you in just a second. And just a reminder, you can raise your hand on the WebEx platform on the bottom right of your screen, or press *3 if you are calling in. But one last question that I see in the chat. Are there going to be any traffic lights at Wheeler Road and Savannah Street?
Yes. Yes. We have performed a traffic signal warrant study. And that's basically a federal procedure. You know, there are night warrants to check, you know, the traffic volume, pedestrian crossing, crash history, coordinated network, school crossing, this and that. The conclusion is, yes, a new signal is justified. We have designed the signal. It will be installed at the Savannah and Wheeler intersection.
Great. Okay, now I'm going to skip over to the couple people that have their hands raised. Francis, I see you had mentioned getting a recording of this meeting. It will be on the project website in a few days. You do have that on your flyer, but just give us some time. And if you want to shoot me an email, I can send it to you once it's officially posted. My email, I'll put it in the chat. My email, as shown earlier, was Peyton, Peyton, @tbaconnects.com. So now call-in user, your number is 301-412. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You may have to press something to accept.
Hello. Well, it looks like it had someone already asked the question on the traffic light being near Willow Hill Drive in Savannah, I believe.
Yes, okay. So you were asking the same question. And
Yeah.
now the answer to that was yes, correct? Okay. Anything else while we got you, or?
That was my main concern because we have trouble coming out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending.
Thank
If
you.
you have anything else, again, feel free, *3.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. In Williams, I'm going to go ahead and request to unmute you. You just have to accept it on your end, and then we should be able to hear you. We got you now.
Saw it. Basically, at the intersection of Wheeler and Barnaby Street, there was a no turn on red sign installed there. And what's happening though is that the light on Wheeler Road is really long, and the light that turns on for the traffic that's coming off of Barnaby that's turning onto Wheeler from Barnaby is really, really short. And so only like 2 cars can, once it turns green, only like 2 cars can turn before it turns red again. And what's happening is that a lot of traffic is backing up on Barnaby going onto Wheeler, and especially during rush hour times. And people who are impatient, who are waiting in that long line of traffic on Barnaby, are now getting out of the line and turning, jumping the line and driving on the wrong side of the street to jump ahead of all of the cars that are waiting at Wheeler and Barnaby and turning right in front of them. So that's causing even more of a safety hazard because cars could be coming, people could be walking. And it happens every single day. I work at Henley, and so I go home that way on Barnaby to get to my house on Wheeler. And every single day, somebody jumps out of the line to either turn right or left in front of the traffic that's already waiting at that red light. So I don't know. I guess my question is there, can a field light be, put there to help reduce the instances of people doing this very dangerous thing? Or can that light at Barnaby, for the Barnaby traffic turning on Wheeler, be like extended so that more people can get through the green light?
Yep. Thank you so much for your very detailed description. That is exactly in line with our field observation. We already noticed similar situation. And the vehicles using the other direction cut the line, and that's very unsafe, right? And the time allocated to Barnaby Street does not seem to be sufficient. And then posing a lot of safety concerns and potential crashes. Yes, we are evaluating that intersection. We have evaluated the intersection. We collected the count. We have the current signal timing, and the model I just mentioned, the software I just mentioned, Synchro. We enter all the data into that in a model to look at the operation and the timing optimization. And we are going to improve the signal timing, most likely providing more green time for Barnaby Street. So to reduce the queue on Barnaby Street so that people would not be that impatient. And then you also mentioned the no turn red sign. That is something we're also looking into to see whether it still makes sense to keep that sign. But thank you for the information and more information you provided and your detailed description. We're absolutely gonna improve the safety and signal timing for the intersection. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then Alan, a similar question that I think you had earlier. Will the median on Wheeler Road remain the same, or will it be concrete?
Raised. So right now on Wheeler Road, if you go there, you'll see a lot of pavement marking with the posts, but those are tactical short-term devices. They are not effective in the long-term point of view. So we are going to harden those medians and provide raised medians and more sections on Wheeler Road.
Okay, so that'll be a raised concrete, Alan?
It could be concrete. So south of Valley, southern half of the corridor, we're thinking about some landscape feature to make it more green corridor kind of thing, maybe turf, some features. We're still evaluating the situation with our landscape designer. And it is at 30% stage of the project. The purpose is to seek public input feedback and refine the design, move forward to 60%, 100% final delivery of the project.
Great, thank you. And then Francis has a question. The light at Southern has a left turn signal. However, the left lane is both a left turn and continue straight lane. Therefore, if someone is in line to turn, but the cars in front of them are not turning, they will go into the ongoing traffic lane to turn. Is there any consideration into altering this light?
Yes, we are looking into this light again. The goal is to provide the optimized facing and timing and provide the maximum safety protection for the turning vehicles and pedestrians, because at the intersection is a high crash location. A lot of unsafe situations are happening. We are absolutely evaluating the intersection and providing the best solution possible. Yes, the answer is yes.
Great. Right now, that's all I have, but I do want to give it another minute. Hey, Alan, if you could just run back to the website page
Yes.
so I can make sure everybody has the correct URL. Please, everybody, continue to follow this project website. If you have any questions or comments, you can submit them on the website or email me, Peyton, Peyton, at tbaconnects.com. We'll be sure to capture any comments that you send in. Now is a great time to provide feedback. For those calling in, the project website you should have on the flyer you got on the bottom left, but also while we're here, it is Wheeler Road safety.ddc.gov. And that's Wheeler Road Safety spelled out fully, .ddc.gov. Again, I'll give it another minute or so to see if anybody has any more comments or questions they'd like to share. If you are calling in, again, you can press *3 to raise your hand and we can unmute you. If you're on the WebEx platform, you can raise your hand by using the bottom right of your screen. But we'll give you another few moments to see if anything comes through before we wrap up the meeting. I do want to thank you all for coming out and sharing your input and sharing your feedback. It's really valuable. And again, I want to stress, if you could please take that Title VI survey, you'll be automatically redirected once this meeting ends to take it. It will really help us, especially as we plan the next meetings for this project going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
And with that, Alan, I'm not seeing any more questions coming through. So thank you all. Have a lovely night. We really appreciate you taking the time to join the meeting, and that will conclude this evening's meeting.
Thank you so much. We'll do our best to deliver a good job for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.